Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Continuing our journey into December, we are now getting a little bit weird and wonderful with it. We are playing mono blue Dreadnought Depths. That's quite a lot of stuff going on, so let's get right into it. Obviously we have our Dark Depths package, so we've got 3 Dark Depths here and 2 Thespian stage. That makes us a 2020 if we have it, and we have some Brainstorms and Ponders to try and find it. But what we also have is Harbinger of the Seas. So, non-basic lands are islands. If this is in play, and we play Dark Depths, this comes in with no counters. If our Harbinger leaves play, then we get a 2020. So if our opponent kills our creature, they have to then deal with a 2020. But we can also slip out the back our Harbinger. So we can phase out our Harbinger, which then gives us the 2020. So it's a bit of a weird way of going about it, but that is part of our option of doing this. Obviously, slip out the back combos with Dreadnought, who is just a big scary boy that's going to do some great work for us. We've got some Murktides for a different sort of big scary boy. The dress down facilitates our Dreadnought plan as well. We've got some Force of Wills and some Dazes to play like a nice tempo game and defend what we're doing here. A couple of Borrowers to bounce out something problematic. And we have these 3 Not of This World, which can protect our Murktide Regent for 0 mana, protect our Phyrexian Dreadnought for 0 mana, or protect our Marit Lage for 0 mana. So quite a lot going on there. There is a Singleton Unable to Scream in here. This is a card that I was actually quite excited when it came out because there's been various sorts of blue removal that looks like this. And this is a pretty good one, to be honest. 1 mana, aura, target creature, they become a 0/2. So we can really jam up some of their creatures. I like it so much I put 3 in the sideboard as well. We've got ourselves some fetch lands that can go and find Meticulous Archive, or we can go and find Mystic Sanctuary, or we can just shuffle off of our cantrips. And that's kind of the plan we're trying to enact there. As for the sideboard itself, we've got some Null Rods, Grafdigger's Cage, a little bit more Graveyard Hate in the Faerie Macabre, some Dismembers to go with our Unable to Scream as removal, another Harbinger when we do want that, and then some Hydroblast for all the mono-red decks floating about. And this is how we're planning on winning the game, just making 2020s or just making a Dreadnought, just big monsters all the way down. I think we played a version of this deck, this was before Harbinger of the Seas came out, we played a version of this deck last December. You can find a playlist for all of last year's December decks on my channel. And I think we went 4-1 with the mono blue Dreadnought Depths deck. So I've made a few alterations since then. Let's see if they are good or bad alterations and see how it feels in the meta today. Please remember to like and subscribe before we get started because that helps you keep track of all the wonderful December goodness that is coming your way. And if you want to see that early, you can become a YouTube member for just £1 a month and get access to my videos early. Alright, let's go and play some mono blue Depths. Right, what does our opener look like? We've got a Force of Will to kind of keep the hordes at bay potentially. But this hand is a little bit slow. It isn't really doing that much. Do we want to go for something more aggressive? We don't have a fetch hand to go with this Brainstorm either. I think we can do a little bit better. Okay, this is a little bit better in my books because we have a fetch hand as well. I don't know if we're going to need this Harbinger. I think we're going to put this one back. That's a turn 3 play. So let's just begin with the classic Island Ponder and see what we're working with. We have a Dreadnought and a Dress Down. That is what I would describe as a plan. So we'll put the Dreadnought down to hide it. And then we'll put the Daze in our hand in case we need to Daze something. So next time we draw the Dreadnought, we can Brainstorm if we want to, or we can just do the Dress Down at end step. We'll see what sort of... Alright. Aether Vial. We could have Dazed that one, but I would rather just get our big creature in play. Maybe that's greedy, but we'll see. Upticks the Aether Vial. That is a basic plane. So we're probably looking at some sort of 60-card Death and Taxes deck, which was pretty obvious once we saw the Aether Vial and the port, I would say. So I'm not expecting this spell that we're about to make to be countered. Let's get Dress Down in. So they can port us, but they can't port us off of a Dreadnought. I think I'm okay to Brainstorm using this mana. Yeah, I don't hate this selection of things. We would like to play a land right now. We don't need this Dark Depths. That can go on top, I think. The Null of This World seems actively great here. The Dress Down might be able to stop them from getting a spooky creature entering. The Daze might have some text here. We're going to go Dark Depths and then the Ponder here. Or we could bin off the Dress Down and then use the Ponder. Actually, no, we get them both, don't we? Because that was our upkeep. Okay, Dreadnought, in you come. And we're just going to Ponder here and try and protect the Queen. That is what I would describe as protection. So I think we put the Daze and then the Force of Will here. That way we get to keep the Force of Will in hand. We have Force of Will Daze to protect our 12/12. We don't need to protect this for very long. We also have the Not of This World. So we have 3 ways of potentially protecting our creature. This is going to be like a Mother of Runes style card. Sure, that's not very good against a massive colourless creature. I will take that. So things like Skyclave Apparition next turn are things we potentially have to worry about. A Swords to Plowshares. I'll say no to that. I think we should have actually counterspelled, because we might not be able to counter what comes out of the vial. Although we do have the dress down, which might be able to do it. Bash. Yeah, we need to get through one more turn cycles. Yes, if we'd have used the Force of Will on that one, then we could have the Not of This World. What do I think can come out of an Aether Vial that I care about? I think it's going to be like a Felia or a Stoneforge. It's a Stoneforge. That's fine. I got a Cauldron. It's our time to learn how... Yeah, we could have played the dress down in our opponent's end step, but then they still get to put it in our turn. This is on blocks anyway, although it's not very amazing because it has first strike, right? Does our dress down take the first strike off of this? I don't believe it does. But layers are a mysterious creature. Do we need to dress down here? Give them a chump block option if we dress down now. We should have dressed down in response to the Aether Vial, I think, when they activated it. Now we're in a bit of a bind. We know the top card of our library doesn't help. Would I like to... Okay, so they're putting this one in. There's the Cauldron. So it has all these abilities. I don't believe the dress down stops because the abilities are granted by the equipment in a different layer. But we need to cycle this dress down. We're not attacking into this when it can kill us anyway. Oh, it did shut off all the abilities. That is interesting. So they're probably just going to lose their Mother of Runes here. I think I will play out the Dark Depths because we have two of them. It shows our opponent a little bit more of our hand and what we're up to. But if we can draw a Thespian stage and have a massive yacht. Yep, we can bait out the Wasteland, gives our opponent less mana to work with. We're going to see here another Stoneforge or a Felia. Spirit of the Lamb. Sure. Good against all our cantrips. I think we made a mistake this game. If we'd have dressed down in response to Aether Vial activation in our end step, we wouldn't have to deal with the Cauldron. So I could Force of Will this. I think I probably should, rather than trying to double Daze here. Alright. What fresh hell is this? Skyclave is a Flicker Wisp. So they can blink this. It comes back. And then we have to sacrifice some stuff. It's going to be awkward for us here. Not attacking with the Germ token is weird. And they've already kind of got us covered. Maybe they're worried that we have a Stifle. But I think this one has slipped away. A Mystic Sanctuary. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We Mystic Sanctuary, put a Ponder on top. I think we're just dead there, aren't we? Okay. Let's try something else here. I think we want some removal. And Unable to Scream is an interesting one. Because it's really their equipment that is the big problem here. Once they've got a creature in play, how much do we care about it? They are a creature-focused deck, so we probably should have these in. But it's something to think about. How do I feel about things like Daze? On the play, Daze is okay. I'm not big into Force of Will in a fair matchup like this. I like the Not of This World more than the Force of Will because this is just a 1-for-1. Maybe just shy completely off of Force of Wills here. How much do I like the Harbinger? It can mess them up a little bit, but not a lot. I think we just ease off of that one a little bit. And we just try and do Dreadnought stuff. Okay, we have a potential turn to Dreadnought here. I'll keep this. So we can Ponder, hold up the Daze, find another land we can slip out the back. Let's go and get this island and start the whole show on the road. Ponder, what do you got for us? Okay, I do like the Thespian stage here. I don't like the Dark Depths, so we're going to have to try and shuffle that one away. Double Dreadnought is really awkward. So if we draw one of these, next time we draw the other one, our Brainstorm will see 2 fresh cards. And we'll have 2 cards that we want to put back. I think we probably have to keep this one, but I'm not happy about it. Plan is to Thespian stage, play the Dreadnought, and then slip it out the back. Holding up this potential land, though, that does change things a little bit. I guess we can deal with this, though. Let's play the Dreadnought. Slip it out the back. If they want to try and plow this, we can Daze. Out the back you go, Mr. Dreadnought. Then we have nothing to sacrifice to trigger. We sort of move on with our lives. A Wasteland. A Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. We're getting Cauldron again? We are getting the Cauldron. Now would be a good time to draw one of our removal spells and Brainstorm into it, which I think is exactly what we're going to do here. The Not of This World does something. So we can put back the Depths. Do we want to keep hold of this Dreadnought? If we have 2 Dreadnoughts, we can attack more easily. So maybe we put back this island. We have to draw that next turn anyway because we have to play the land this turn. Okay. Let's get 13 of the finest points of damage in. Yeah, these Death and Taxes decks are pretty good against Delverish strategies, and we're kind of in that ballpark. They're also pretty good against Dark Depths strategies. Split up. Destroy all tapped creatures. I guess our Dreadnought is no longer part of this. So we couldn't use the Not of This World because this is for stopping things that target it. Okay, so we can get Meticulous Archive if we want it. And then next turn we can just make a 20/20. They have to have the Wasteland not up for us to do that though. We're also in a spot where we can Thespian stage to copy their Wasteland. Or a basic. I think they'd probably just pass it. Oh no, they're going for the Quarter straight up. Yeah, okay. So taking a slightly more aggressive line, that's fine. It's going to get our Meticulous Archive. They might hit our... Yeah. I thought they might do that. So we're going to get the Archive. What do you got for us? A Daze. That can go into the graveyard. We need something a little bit juicier right now. Ponder. It's a good start towards finding something juicy. None of these though. Brainstorm. Let's keep it going. A Dress Down. Harbinger of the Seas. This is going to be tight, isn't it? We could play land into Harbinger, but I think just having a big 12/12 is probably where we need to be. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Put them back this way around. Cut the land. And we'll pass. So we're going to take 6, and then we take 6 the following turn. Is there a way that we can win this one? That Wasteland is pretty brutal. That stops us being able to actually deploy any of our spells here. Yeah, I think they've got us. Yeah, just picked apart by some good old-fashioned Death and Taxes magic. Alright, let's go to round 2. I think we did make a mistake in game 1 when we didn't play the Dress Down. I was trying to hold it for when they got to 3, because that's when they have Flicker Wisp and Skyclave, and those are things I can't really allow to hit play. But we just let them take over with the Cauldron instead, which wasn't ideal. Alright, round 2 it is. We have no lands, so we're going to mulligan this one. We have some lands. And we keep this one, I guess. We have a redraw, and we've got a Surveil land. Are we keeping the depths, or are we keeping the actual factual lands? Let's face it, it's December. You came here to watch me make Dark Depths a thing. So I guess we're going to keep the depths. Right, could be a tough one. Harbinger of the Seas. Okay, we have a strategy that we can employ at some point. So we have our A plus our B. It gives us a 20/20 if the Harbinger ever dies. And in 2, not really a fan of this one. We'll go and fetch an island. This way we can pay around our opponent's dazes. It's going to set us back a little bit, but hopefully buys us enough wiggle room here. If we go and get like a Meticulous Archive, we get the extra value there, but we don't get the ability to play around a Daze. Just a nice unhealthy play pattern we have to deal with here. A Dreadnought. That is something for the future. We're going to hold in this fetch land in case we want to do any Brainstorm type stuff down the line. We could go and get Meticulous Archive. That does expose us to Wasteland though. So then we're better off just having this island and playing into the cantrips that are in our deck. We're getting another Entomb. Siphoning a Troll. Well, that's bad in different ways for us. Like a 6/5 is pretty good. Like, it's obviously not as good as a 12/12, but the 6/5 can't be blocked, and we'll probably get to attack first. They make it right now. If they make it with an Animate Dead though, because they played the Undercity Sewers, we might get the ability to Daze that. Have to decide if that's the thing we want to do. A Reanimate. So we don't get to Daze that one. So we just have to let that one happen. We just got to hope our big creature is better than theirs. They are only on 13 though. So we take 6, then we take 6 and hit them for 12. Then we take 6 and we're on, and then we're dead. So we're going to need to get a little bit creative with this one. We need to find that 1 point of damage from somewhere. Maybe a cheeky slip out the back somewhere. We can also find Dress Downs. Shut off the unblockable nature of that creature. This is prime for a Daze on our opponent's behalf though. We've got loads of land over there. Right, we're just in with it, aren't we? Flooded Strand. Not exactly what I'm after. A second Dreadnought. What about second Dreadnought? Let's have a second Dreadnought, I guess. A Brazen Borrower on our Dress Down isn't actually that good. Alright, let's just put 24 power into play. That is a appropriate amount of power to try and win this game with. Fatal Push, pretty good against these. But you know what's pretty good against those? Not of this world. Daze is pretty much going to do nothing for us. We can almost block the Troll. Right, so we're going to see here. To go for a Fatal Push here. We crack this first. So that we have the mana to pay around Daze before we start putting our own spells on the stack. Say no to Fatal Pushes. Like if we just put this on the stack and then our opponent dazes, we are kind of out of luck there. A Petty Theft targeting our Dreadnought. Interesting. Sure, I guess we lose 1 Dreadnought. We're going to need to find that 1 damage from somewhere though. Or we're going to need to find a way to deal with this Troll. Slip out the back, unable to scream. These are all things that we can leverage. We could play a big Murktide. Not going to do enough to stop this from killing us in 2 hits. Can't block. They've also got a 3/1 waiting in the wings. Sacking this. Go on, cast an actual factory reanimate or something. Or an animate dead. Does animate dead help us? Not really. But it means that our Daze is probably going to be more alive for anything we want to do on our turn. Yeah. Okay. So this is obviously a problem for us. Okay, we have borrowers of our own. A Brainstorm. I think Brainstorm is probably going to be a thing that leads us, is the most likely way of finding a way through all this. Okay, so we can borrow one of these. That's something useful. Multiple Dreadnoughts right now do not seem like the place I want to be. I'm going to put back the Depths and a Dreadnought. So we need to borrow, but that doesn't actually stop our opponent from losing unless they block. Unless they don't block. No, if they block here, then the borrower saves us. Otherwise, we have to ponder. Yes, we need our opponent to make an error here. So if we attack with the Dreadnought, let's see if we get a block off here. Our opponent shouldn't block here, and they could have won. But maybe they're scared. Okay, so now they've opened up the borrower line for us. So if we borrow now, that ends up better for us. Because our opponent has less mana available and less cards. Okay, okay. We found something that resembles a plan here. Alright, we got the game. Nice. Our opponent should not have blocked there, in my opinion. We're a mono blue deck. How do they expect us to deal that 1 extra point damage? I guess I didn't know we're necessarily a mono blue deck. But 3 islands is a bit of a tell. Alright, so our opponent's doing some graveyard stuff, so let's have some anti-graveyard hate. I like unable to scream here. That can deal with any of their guys. So that's potentially 7 things we want in. I think Force of Will is a bit of a trap if they're going to be boarding out some of their graveyard stuff. So I think we can probably trim on a couple of Forces and a couple of Dazes. Just get some different pieces in here. They're not really reanimating our Dreadnoughts, so that's nice. The dress downs are nice. We obviously need to keep the things that make our engine tick. Murktide Regent is something that can square up nicely to Frog. Maybe we are just going down on like Harbinger. And I'm just debating these Force of Wills. How much do we actually want the Force of Wills versus the Harbinger? I think we need to have a couple of Force of Wills in to hedge. The Harbinger is not going to stop them that much. They can Swamp Cycle, and then that's all they need, really. This hand does not seem like a keeper to me. We don't have fast mana, so we can't do like a quick depths plan. We're not that sort of deck. Let's mulligan. Okay, deck, that's very funny, but not really what I want to be. We've only got 3 depths in our deck. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 5. Oh, Dark Depths. I understand. You know, I do love you a great deal as a card. You're one of my absolute besties. Could just chill. You're being a bit clingy today. So I think we're probably putting back the Depths and the Not of This World. If we keep this hand. And we have 2 pieces of interaction. And then hopefully we can just draw our way to more relevant stuff. I'm pretty sketchy about getting a Meticulous Archive with this Flooded Strand. Okay, now we definitely don't need to do that. Let's just go and get ourselves a delicious basic island. And ponder our orbs. Love seeing the extra land, not into the borrower, and into the Brainstorm. So we could have put the Brainstorm into our hand, so we have more blue cards to choose from. But we already have a slip out the back that I'm more than happy to pitch at this point in time. We're going to see a little Entomb, are we? A little Entomb action. I'm okay with that. Faerie Macabre solves everything. It could just be a cycle for a troll, though. It's a Brainstorm. Alright. That's a curious timing on a Brainstorm. If they wait till their turn, they get to see another card and can possibly shuffle stuff away. This is like a Velocity Brainstorm where the cards in their hands are actually pretty good. They just need to get an additional piece to make it really work, rather than looking for anything super specific necessarily. I think this is also a tell that they're looking to try and drop a Frog and just want to have the most amount of resources available around the Frog, so like any extra Dazes or Force of Wills, that sort of thing. Polluted Delta. Black and the blue. It's a Psychic Frog. Let's try and answer this. The Daze here is obviously really brutal. They did not have a Daze. So my thing about brainstorming end step to have a Psychic Frog, most amount of resources, held true. I think I'm okay to brainstorm and then do some shuffling here. I don't think I want these two. I want the borrower. Maybe I want the borrower. I'll leave the borrower on top. And then we can decide if we're shuffling away or not. Now we can just play Fair Borrower Beatdown and Entomb. Okay, I didn't get to answer that. So The Force of Will was kind of baited out by the frog in a way, but I think we can't allow a frog to happen. But we do have this Faerie Macabre that our opponent is playing into now. So they go for a reanimate on this Atraxa. We can have a jolly good time about it. Atraxa, and we get rid of frog. Get out of here. So now our opponent's low on resources. I'm going to go and get a Meticulous Archive rather than taking this Borrower. Is that true? We just take the Borrower. We just start applying pressure, and that's actually fine. Yeah, I'm going to take the Borrower, actually. And then if we need to Meticulous Archive, or whatever, we can. So there's 9 on top, we're definitely shuffling that away. If we petty theft something on our opponent's turn, then we get to go and get the Meticulous Archive. Ponder. This could lead to another Psychic Frog situation, which is the exact sort of thing that I would be trying to petty theft out of play. Keep them on the defensive with that. But I'm perfectly happy to play a 3-1 flyer this turn cycle if our opponent doesn't commit anything to the board. With this Ponder, I don't believe our opponent's going to do anything. The only way they could commit anything to the board is probably reanimating our Faerie Macabre. Clearly not the play our opponent is looking to do. Although, Faerie Macabre being reanimated would stop our Brazen Borrower down the line. But then we get to Borrower it back into our hand. Obviously you don't know that, but that'd be pretty tasty for us. Just get some beats going. Right, let's attack. I will deploy the Dark Depths. If we happen to draw a Thespian stage, that gives us a 20/20 next turn. If we draw the Harbinger of the Seas, that's obviously a different... I have a wasteland, so... I think that's probably worth hitting now. Yeah, our opponent agrees. You got a frog to follow up. A Fatal Push. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. Do I want to save this Borrower, or do I want to apply some pressure? I think I want to apply pressure here. If you just sit around, then our opponent can sculpt a more powerful game plan, because they have the reanimate stuff. Alright, Ponder. An excellent use of our mana and time. Any order and shuffle these, please. A Dreadnought. That's half a plan. This will be a one-shotting creature after we connect with this Borrower. Wasteland. Doesn't do anything here. Slip out the back. Don't mind if I do. This is a round of Daze as well. Let's put a nice little hat on our little Dreadnought here. The slipperiest of Phyrexians. Alright, we got a match against one of the de facto best decks of the format. I think Mystic Forge is actually the best deck, and that was resolutely proven over Eternal Weekend. But this is the thing that has shaped it and made that become the best deck, because this pushes everything else down. But yeah, beating one of the best decks, can't argue with that. Let's go to round 3. Alright, we do need to find a land here, but I believe in the deck, so I'm going to keep this one. A Polluted Delta. If our opponent cracks this fetch at any point, when they have no other mana, I will crack this. We might as well try and play around a Stifle a little bit while we can. Kind of wish I had my own Stifle. I do love stifling people. Meticulous Archive. Okay. I would like to Brainstorm. Try and hit that second land. But we're going to wait and see what our opponent does in case we need to hide cards in our hand or whatever. So they're probably the Yorion build that has... Sorry, I forgot to mention they're a Yorion deck. They're probably the Yorion build that has the 5-colour Beanstalk type jam. Just a little Brainstorm here. Are we fighting over this one? They have the Bowmasters. I do not want this Bowmasters to resolve. I'm going to pitch... I think it's the Dress Down rather than... No, I think it's... tough call. I'll pitch the Murktide. Okay. We don't need this, so that can go back. We can just slip out our little friend right now. That seems like a reasonable thing to do. I'm not expecting Daze out of our opponents. The Bug Beans does have Daze in, but we're not looking at Bug Beans here. Out of the back with you. Okay, so we have the first spot removal covered. And we're immune to sorcery speed removal this turn because it's phased out. Force of Will. Okay, we've got 2 removal spell covered. We need to attack twice to win the game. I like those odds. Swords, 2 Plowshares. I will say no to this. We're going to see a Leyline Binding. They have 4 colours, so this does work. We are all in on a little Dreadnought. We'd like to try and kill someone with the Dark Depths today. We can dress down looking for the Daze if we need it. We've got Solitude covered via the dress down. Pest Control. Destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't bode very well for us. I don't really want to just fire this dress down into blind, even though it could be good for us. Okay, a Borrower. Something if we need to. A lot of their things accrue value, so bouncing it doesn't seem great. Another mana, we could maybe have ourselves a 3-1 attacker. Things are slipping away a touch. There's a wasteland, so that makes the Dark Depths plan somewhat problematic. Lorien revealed. Do I want to dress down in the hopes of finding a Daze or Force of Will? I don't think so. I think given the amount of cards our opponents just draw, though, I would like to try and get this dress down in now. Just on the off chance we draw the Dreadnought. We would have found the Daze. Okay. That's always how it is. Another dress down. We can't bounce our own dress down and try and loop it for some more cards because Brazen Borrower says a non-land permanent and opponent controls. I think our opponent might be pretty close to getting over the hump here. Beanstalk? No. An Uro. Yeah, that's an annoying one. I'm not going to dress down to cancel the triggers. That gives them a 6-6. But what I can do is I can dress down it on the way back up so that it doesn't get the additional draw on the way back in. Or we can dress down at end step and try and hit again. This is a matchup where our Harbinger of the Seas is going to be very good. Yuri onto hand. I think I am throwing a bit of a Hail Mary with this dress down. Okay, Force of Will. That can stop the Euro. Another dress down. All the dress downs. This Daze is now pretty much off entirely. Our opponent shouldn't ever play into it for the rest of the game. Unless I can string together the right selection of stuff to get that going. We're probably just pitching it to the Force of Will as soon as our opponent plays a Euro. But we are in danger of getting ruined by a Force of Will they may have drawn at this point. Holding a Daze isn't going to stop that. Alright, that just worked. Okay. A Brainstorm. Sure. And a Ponder. I think we once again probably go for the little Hail Mary with the dress down. So we can also hit into cantrips and Ponder or Brainstorm our way into a Dreadnought. We could also dress down into some of the threats as well. Not the one. Meticulous Archive, or we can get a Brazen Borrower going. I think I would rather get the Brazen Borrower going here. So they can just redeploy an Uro. Which is obviously not great for us. Are we racing this Uro? If we bounce it back to hand, they get to replay it, and that's just a whole thing. They got to 10, but we can hit them in big chunks. That maybe is okay. Black, white, blue. Very Time Raveler. I think I've seen enough. I think our opponent's gotten far enough ahead that they're going to win that one. Okay, so let's get this other Harbinger in. And then the rest of these things don't feel great, to be honest. Maybe we can take out this Unable to Scream for this Harbinger. Just try and stick a Harbinger, hide behind it. We could bring in Faerie Macabre just for the Uro. Or we could bring in a Grafdigger's Cage. That stops them from playing an Uro full stop. Is that better than having this Faerie Macabre that they can't answer? Because if we play a Grafdigger's Cage, they can just leyline binding around it, and that's okay. How much do we care about the Uro? Like, a fair bit. But what would we take out, though, is the problem. Probably some of our counter magic, but counter magic becomes a lot more interesting if we're protecting a Harbinger of the Seas. We could have brought in Dismembers because we did see the Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, we've got turn 3 Harbinger with Daze backup. And we can try and ponder our way to a better future. Ponder, Murktide Regent, Brainstorm. Alright, I'll take these. So we can Brainstorm, shuffle away some excess land, and maybe something else. Well, obviously it has to be something else. And then, we don't have to shuffle away though. And then we can play the Harbinger with Daze backup. Meticulous Archive. So we want to get all our cantripping done while our opponent doesn't have Bowmaster available. I don't think we want the debts right now, and we can put back this island. Crack this. Go and get a basic island and cast the Ponder, looking for Force of Will or something that can just give us a little bit of extra protection for the Harbinger. More cantrips aren't really what I want. They can help us power out a Murktide, but now we're in the territory where Orcish Bowmaster becomes an awkward one. Okay, so we have the ability to Dreadnought as well. And then when the death settles, we have a Murktide to follow. Our opponent can't really afford to fetch basics, given the nature of their deck. If they have a Beanstalk, we have to let it resolve here. I don't like it, but I think getting the Harbinger when they're tapped out here is where I want to be. The chance of them having double force is quite low. Right, so we will Daze this before our opponent gets an opportunity to draw anything else. Right, we're in. Their mana doesn't work. Can Dreadnought. The problem with Dreadnought is it costs us our Harbinger of the Tides because we have to sacrifice some stuff. We're not stifling the trigger. We're phasing out so we don't have anything to sacrifice. So that is the difference there. So we are better off doing Murktide stuff. Let's cast Ponder first. Another Harbinger isn't the worst, is it? Okay, attack with Harbinger. And then we'll deploy a real threat to try and close this game up. We're going to make it as big as possible. We just want this game to end. Given enough time, our opponent might be able to string something together here. Undercity Sewers, that is an island. So we can now slip out the back our Murktide if we want to. Let's go to attacks here. Can I flash anything with blue? I don't think so. Just got a 10 damage here. Harbinger down. We've got Force of Will or slip out the back. So if they somehow break out of this, and I'm not really sure how they could do that. Alright, this is just a Lorien review. No, they're just going to play this Yorion Sky Nomad. Let's try and counterspell that. Alright, that should be the game. Alright, we got one. Harbinger of the Seas, confirmed, very useful. Do we want these dismembers just for Bowmasters? I think the way we're just playing around them there makes a lot more sense, so I think we're just going to go back in. There is an argument to have Hydroblast just to deal with potential 4th Eorlingus or opposing Pyroblast, but I think that's a pretty sketchy way of taking it. Counter magic, but no threat. If we let this game go long, our opponent wins. I think we have to mulligan this. Okay, I will keep this, and we have a cantrips. Do I want to keep this Dark Depths? There is a problem if we... I guess we put back the Force of Will here. So we can still Force of Will and then decide if we're losing a Brainstorm or something. Is our opponent going to get basic planes here? Because that could be a pretty big inflection point of this game. They are going to get a basic planes. And it's certainly going to reduce the efficacy of our Harbinger of the Tides. Let's go and ponder. I doubt they have many basics though. It probably is just a plains and an island. I will take these. This gives us an interesting selection of lines that we can play here. So we don't need this Polluted Delta, so we can shuffle that one next turn if we want to. Because we already have the 2 mana. So we could crack our Tarn and do some brainstorming, or we could just hold it up. I would like to get this brainstorm out when our opponent doesn't have a Orcish Bowmaster in our future. So they crack this land. I'll brainstorm. There you go. People moan about Bowmasters, but I really enjoy the play patterns around Bowmasters. I don't know what that says about me, but... Okay, so we don't actually need another land of either kind right now. We'll just put them both back. And we can fetch in our leisure. I'm quite tempted to play the Harbinger on 4, so we can play it, immediately play the Dark Depths, and then have a 20/20 if they kill our Harbinger. So probably going to have 1 removal spell to hand. And up the Beanstalk. Is this worth fighting over, or are we fighting over keeping our creature? I think we're going to fight over trying to bottleneck our opponent on the ability to play spells. Or having a big creature they can't answer. I think I will get the Meticulous Archive here. It helps us power out a potential Murktide. Another piece of protection. I think I will put this on top. Alright. So the Murktide Regent, if we could have made it big enough that it would be protected by Not of This World, I would have played it then. But we couldn't quite do that. Carpet of Flowers. Okay, that's pretty good against our Harbinger plan. But we're now on the Make a Dark Depths plan. Our opponent is going to probably let this resolve because they know they can kill it. But as soon as it's resolved, we play the Dark Depths. That is an Up the Beanstalk. So this is the Card Advantage plan just snowballing out of control on our opponent's end. We're trying to make the game only matter about a very niche selection of things. Just turn this into a basic. It's unlikely to really matter, but it's free for us to do so. So I want to play the Harbinger out because I think it's going to bait one of the removal spells, so that we're more likely to get our Dark Depths to work. Do I want to counter back? We could counter back here, or we could save this for protecting our creature. I think I'm going to counter back here before they draw a bunch of cards. So the other option here we had was just to play the Dark Depths and try and ride the things we had. Boom, there's the Dark Depths. So there's something for you to worry about, opponent. We also now have enough cards to do a Murktide as well. Pest Control. So one thing I am concerned with is Teferi and a removal spell. So if they remove our Harbinger, we get a 20/20, but then they get just Teferi it. There's only so much we can play around though. And this game has gone quite long to put us in this spot. I did think our opponent was just going to let the Harbinger resolve and then plow it. Hate this. Hate this a lot. I don't have any white mana at present. Okay, so we get a 20/20. We can't protect it with all these protection spells that we've been saving up. Carpet Flowers. Okay, so second main phase, they get white off the carpet and kill our creature. Psychic Frog. Okay, that can block. If that's what they're worried about. So they have a reprieve of what they can do. This Teferi is going to ruin us, I think. We might be ruined. Okay, so there's some white mana, so we're going to gain 20 life. We're not even going to gain 20 life. Do I think this game is winnable? Taking too long about it here. We can shut our opponent off of colours, but we have to deal with the carpet, so we can't shut our opponent off of colours. We can't protect this because of the Teferi. I think the Teferi is the thing that scuppers us here. Maybe they don't have any removal and we just make a big Murktide. That's kind of the level we're operating at now. Unfortunately, their Psychic Frog outmatches our Murktide Regent, which is pretty ridiculous. I'm sure you'll agree. Yeah, I'm happy to call that one a day there. Our opponent is just so far ahead with all the cards now. And they are presenting us win conditions. So we just couldn't quite get through. If they don't have the Teferi there, I think this match is okay. But they're probably digging specifically for it as well. All right, 3 rounds. Let's go to round 4. On the play for round 4, our hand has kind of a couple of blanks in it here. That's mulligan. Okay. Another land gets us a Dreadnought. I guess we do that. Are we looking at doing not this well? So we can't make double Dreadnought because slip out the back doesn't work the way you want it to. We would have to play a Dreadnought, slip it, then play another Dreadnought and slip it in the same turn cycle. We will keep this. I think we're probably going to get rid of one slip out the back because we might be doing a dress down into double Dreadnought plan. We can get Meticulous Archive to dig us towards the second land, but that does expose us to wasteland. So we need to see what our opponent plays and if there's information that we have to worry about wasteland or not. A basic plains. A Chrome Mox. Okay, so this is probably some form of initiative deck. It could be the mono-white, what I call the Perez style, because they were the first person I saw doing it. Okay, so the red-white initiative. They are not going to hit us with any wastelands. They can have Blood Moon, but we really need the second land. There it is. Okay, so we don't really care about Blood Moon anymore. Is this a game where I need to immediately play a Dreadnought, or is this a game where I need to... I think we're going to slip one out the back right now and just go aggressive on our opponent. Okay, so he slips it out the back. Got a plains. What is this? And a red. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. That kind of pales in comparison to a 13/13 Trampler. And we have a piece of protection for it. Tap the Dreadnought. Just going to dress down now and deploy Dreadnought. And a Daze to back it up. Alright. This feels pretty savage. We have 25 power with Trampler in play. We have a protection spell from removal spell and a Daze, which could be protecting us. Going to be a tough ask opponent. I get mangled by like a main deck Fiery Confluence or something weird. I guess if they have like Traitors into Solitude, that works because they get rid of 13/13, then they have effectively 7 points of protection because the lifelink happens at the same time that we deal damage. Counter of Souls, Elemental. The Daze is off. Obviously they don't know about our Not of This World. Nice uncounterable Solitude you have there. It would be a shame if someone were to, I don't know, counter spell the trigger. Interesting, they're going for the plow on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think I'm going to... We can make them pay the Daze for this. Because if they pay, they won't be able to play a Solitude. They might have like a Simian Spirit Guide in hand. No, it looks like they're going for the pay-in. Alright, let's just say no to this then. I would rather counter the Solitude trigger, but it doesn't really matter that much either way. And if our opponent taps out for something big that somehow kills all of our creatures, then sure, we're toast. Alright, we thought about it for a minute, and then they scooped it up. So let's go to the sideboard. So red-white stuff. We're probably going to want some Hydroblast, some Unable to Scream, and some Dismember. These all seem fine. How good do I think Harbinger of the Seas is? They got a load of treasure, they got a load of Chrome Moxes. I think this is the matchup for that. That still leaves us trying to find 5 cuts. The Dazes look decidedly bad here as well, so that's a relatively easy cut. And then where are we at from there? Do I think they're going to board in Vexing Baubles and make our Not of This World look bad? Certainly possible. But we need to keep the Borrowers to bounce Chalices. They can also bounce the Baubles, which allows us to do some other stuff. We could trim on like a Ponder or a Brainstorm, just have a little bit less of that to get caught underneath a Chalice. I think that's reasonable. Alright, let's see if we can do some things with Unable to Scream. I like an Island Ponder. The slip out the back means we're just looking for Dreadnoughts. Dreadnought's pretty good in this matchup, I would say. A turn 1 Chalice is going to be real good against what we've got going on here. Do we mulligan this, or do we rely on the Ponder? I think we can rely on the Ponder. I'd be happier on the play. We don't see that much Chalice these days. And they probably want to keep all their plows for our big monsters. Nothing going on there apart from that. Let's go and get ourselves this island. Now we're probably fine under Blaboon as well. I don't think that's the thing our opponent's going to reach for in this particular matchup. Brazen Borrower is a threat. I don't really want to draw the Knot of this World, but we have to draw 2 of these. We don't have a Brainstorm. I think we can do better. Murktide Regent. Okay. So we can try and just build up for a big Murktide, and that's a creature that's going to be big enough to tangle with even our opponent's big threats. And we'll just eat it to a Source to Plowshares, potentially. But we can slip it out the back to protect it, or Force of Will to protect it too. Our opponent's just playing Draw Go with us. Interesting thing for a Chromox deck to do. I think I'm interested in Meticulous Archive more than anything else here. Dress Down. So this doesn't actually grow our Murktide Regent. But do I even want this? I don't think so. It gives us the mana to cast the Murktide. But I think we're still probably waiting on another instant or sorcery. Alright, so Solitude mana is over there. Well, this is not resolving on my watch. Pyroblast is definitely a thing our opponent has access to here, though. That's why they've got this open. Yep. I don't think we get to let the Seasoned Dungeoneer resolve. I'm hoping there's not more Pyroblast in our future. But now we can make a big Murktide. Got Dreadnought that doesn't do anything. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a relatively thick Murktide. We've got a kill spell for the next creature. They have to have... Like, they can have something like Solitude here. That plays perfectly fine. Just a plow. Up to 23 life. Broadside Bombardiers. You do not get to attack with that one. I don't think you're supposed to play out that Chromox. I think you're supposed to wait to see if your Broadside Bombardiers gets to attack first. We can maybe take a hit from that, but I just don't really want to. Our opponent's in top deck mode. We're the cantrip deck. So we are favoured in a situation like this. Alright. We can make our opponent's next creature do very little. But if it's an initiative creature, they're still in the dungeon, and that's not great for us. A Murktide Regent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not enough. Alright. Another City of Traitors. Is this just a massive 4th Eolingus? That's a horrible draw for us to have to face down. That probably just wins the game in a couple of turns. Certainly feels like that's what's happening. As we've just drawn a couple of blanks here. Now this is the problem with our deck. We are playing A's and B's. And sometimes we will draw A's and no B's. Yep. A whole hat full of horses. Why do they leave up 1 mana here? Are they really worried about double Daze? And they should have got an extra horse and left up 1 mana. Like, they're concluding that we're not playing cards. What are they going to be? But there's so many things it could be in our deck. I think it's worth just getting an extra horse. Although they're dealing... It's a 3-turn clock this way. Do we want this Dark Depths? What does it actually do for us? Are we slowing their horses down? I hate this, but I think we are. Because this changes the clock by a turn if we do it now. And then we just need to find ourselves a little Thespian stage action. And we could Ponder or Brainstorm into it because we have enough mana for that. Cavern of Souls. Knowing human. We're going to see some sort of initiative creature. One of the big strong ladies. Which one is it? The Knight or the Barbarian? It's the Barbarian. Okay. So we take 4 this turn. But maybe we can only take 4 next turn. Or 6 next turn. And that might be okay. Alright. Top of the deck. You've got to be a strong one. 4th Eolingus. 1-up card. So we can Dreadnought here. Dreadnought can check this. Doesn't help us win in the immediate, but it's something. And I'll take something over nothing. So they can put us to 2 if they attack with the 2 knights, and they put the +2 they put the +2 counters on one of the knights, because we obviously have to block the adventure. But they're going to have 3 cards in hand here. They could just try and scry to a way to remove our creature. Alright, they're going for the Forge. They should put this on a knight. They do put it on a knight. Okay. We can bounce that knight next turn. So we're kind of treading water a little bit. So this turn we can block the Caves of Chaos Adventurer, take 6. But we have to attack to get the trap, don't we? So we need to find something else along the lines. What are you going to reveal with your Caves of Chaos Adventurer? Broadside. That's a bit of an issue for us, isn't it? If we draw Thespian Stage, we don't have enough to borrow it as well because Depths doesn't tap for mana. So they're going to play this Bombardier that they have off the top. So that's what we describe as another problem. I think our opponent's just going over us here. The Monarch does do that. So what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brings us to 1. We're dead to this. We have to bounce at the beginning of combat. We block here. We have to get the initiative. There's just too many things. There's too many things. We can't do that one. Okay, back to the sideboard. I like how we've sideboarded here for the most part. Our opponent's already playing around Dazes, which means I definitely don't need to have them in. Just like having the little bits of protection. Sure, I think this is fine. The difference of being on the play and the draw in this matchup is pretty significant. Island Ponder. We're the force of will to stop the first scary thing our opponent does. They might have Vexing Baubles. It can shut off some of their fast mana and their solitudes, but they're the one in charge of the baubles. They can decide when it's in play and when it's not. We also have a Hydroblast, which is pretty tempting. We could just hold up the Hydroblast rather than pondering, and then we just have the ponder for the next turn. Because we're very unlikely to commit anything into play on turn 2 anyway, given the nature of our deck. So yeah, actually, I think we're just going to hold up the Hydroblast and then do a turn 2 ponder. Not Hydroblast and a white spell. A Vexing Bauble. So if we Force of Will this, it costs us some things. I think that's fine. So we can play this out and we can Brainstorm at end step, or we can bounce and Force of Will something, or we can Hydroblast something. So we have a whole bunch of options. We have a Mystic Sanctuary that we're more than happy to throw away, so I'm sure there'll be one other bad card among the 3 we draw. A Sunbaked Canyon. Let's get our Brainstorm on. Okay, we don't need this Mystic Sanctuary. I don't think we want a second Force of Will either. I can live with having the first. Let's go and get Meticulous Archive. Get that value. A Dark Depths. I'll leave that on top. 2020 is big news. Slip out the back and some Scream action. I don't know if I'm about this life. I think we can go any order in shuffle. The Scream came back anyway. So we're just going to do the play where we hold up the Brazen Borrower to bounce the Bauble, and we hold up the Hydroblast. So our opponent's certainly looking at playing something massive with this Bauble protecting it. 3 mana, a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Let's get rid of that. We're drawing fresh off the top, so we don't need to crack this. We can save it for potential Brainstorm shenanigans. A Dress Down. What are we doing here? If we play out the Murktide right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll be a 6/6. We won't be able to protect it with anything. I think that's still fine. We'll leave more cards in there so we have more mana for our next Murktide. I don't know if I'm playing this Dark Depths. I don't think I am. Because if we draw the Harbinger... No, we brought out the Harbingers, didn't we? That was foolish. To not play the Depths then. Still got my Game 1 brain on. I don't know all the ins and outs of this weird Monarchical brew that we've put together. We get plowed? We get plowed. It's going to be a little 4th Eolingus or one of the big strong ladies. We have a sort of answer. It's the horses. Alright, slightly punished for our play there. We need to get this Monarch back. Dress Down into Dreadnought is a pretty good way of doing that, I would say. Let's get our little friend, Mr. Dreadnought. There's definitely a part of me that wanted to Brainstorm then and try and hit a land. If we miss, it's so bad. Just get the Dreadnought in. If the Dreadnought... So we need to get a creature in place, we can get the Monarch. So if we can get this to stick around for a turn cycle, we can start bouncing blockers. Obviously, the blockers aren't going to be able to get through our massive trample. But we can have some interaction. We can Brazen Borrow the Vexing Bauble and counterspell something. We've got a removal spell. We can dig for more bits and pieces. We could dig for potentially the Thespian stage that has been somewhat elusive. Alright, that's Sunbaked Canyon. You've taken those extra points of damage. Alright, this is not so big a deal for us. That's fine. This does loot them towards an answer, though. So if we connect, we do get an island. And we get a shuffle. So I think we wait till the trigger from... Oh, no, sorry, we don't get a shuffle. They've got the Monarch, not the initiative. Apologies. My brain was in a different place right there. No, we don't get a shuffle off of this Brainstorm for free. 12 damage is a lot. Did they just draw a plow? This pause in their end step makes me think they've drawn a plow. They should be casting it now rather than letting us untap when they have the Bauble protection. Good old Vexing Bauble. Can't imagine this card stays legal for the most amount of time. Alright, they have a Solitude. Alright, that's fine. What are we going to pitch to this? Do you want our... I think it's probably unable to scream here. Much as I like that card. But if they have a Solitude here, it's definitely worth. Oh, they had Spirit Guide into Red Blast. That's pretty slick, opponent. Alright, deck. Let's come up with a Marit Lage. We did not come up with a Marit Lage, as it turns out. We don't want to draw 2 lands, so I guess we're putting these both back. And then we play out this. So we can crack this. Put, like, a Brainstorm on top. We can Hydroblast something. Do you want to Hydroblast this Fable? I don't think so. I'd rather Hydroblast a 4th Eolingus. And maybe we get to deploy the Borrower. If we deploy the Borrower, we can attack with the Borrower. We can get the Monarch off our opponent. We might not be able to keep it for very long, but that's still a draw step that I will take. They got rid of the Chrome Mox. Not a surprise at this stage of the game. City of Traitors. Sure. Feels like a big 4th Eolingus turn. Vexing Bauble is fine. We're not about that right now. Playing around a hard cast Daze. They don't have a Pyroblast because they've got no cards in hand. Counter target spell if it's red. This means we don't get to... Okay, at the beginning of combat we probably bounce the Shaman token here. I would like a Brainstorm on top. Do I even care about bouncing this? I don't think I do. Let me just leave this for another turn. Because we're on 30 life because of a plow from earlier. So our life total is a little bit more secure than you would imagine. Dieback's not tapping for mana here. Hurting us in terms of getting this Borrower down. So we get to draw our Brainstorm here. Not of this world. Dress down. Unable to scream. I guess we don't want this not of this world. The dress down might be useful. So I think we're just going to hold on to this Borrower. And deploy the Borrower in our opponent's end step with the intention of trying to take the Monarch off our opponents. We can dress down in our next end step to shut off the Fable throughout our opponent's next turn. That's the thing we want to do. It also stops any like broadside bombardiers having haste. So these are all options available to us. I think I'm going to bounce anything here. I think it's more important to get a creature and try and take the Monarch back. So there's a quarter of our life total. Oh, I don't have something else, opponent. Seasoned Dungeoneer. Okay, so this will get us a shuffle as well. Provided... That we go. So we have the option of dress downing in response to stop the initiative being in the game. But I think we need the shuffle of the initiative here, so we get to draw a blank, fresh card after the Monarch triggers for us if we get it. We might not get it. Flash in the little friend. Pyroblast is obviously pretty backbreaking here. Our back doesn't feel like it can take much more of what our opponent's putting down. So this Reflection can copy Seasoned Dungeoneers. Oh, they got Pyroblast there. Oh no, drawing a card with Sunbaked Canyon. Okay. I was so ready to concede then. But maybe there's a little bit more life left in this particular game of Magic the Gathering. To draw a blank. It's not like a super blank, but it's not where you want to be. Let's attack this. Okay, so we get to go into the Undercity. Basic. So we can deploy the dress down in our end step. We could unable to scream one of these creatures if we want to. I think I'm going to hold this. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, actually we do play it out. In case we draw another Borrower. So in our end step we cast a dress down, then it's around for our opponent's entire turn. Let's see what we draw first. So that changes things. That is a route to victory potentially. Dreadnought that we can't cast. Why can't you have Flash as well, Dreadnought? But we have a 20/20 next turn. But I don't think that's going to be good enough where we're at right now. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We need to clap back for 3. We can unable to scream something, but that doesn't help that much. I don't think it gives us enough to survive. Broadside Bombardier, so this doesn't have haste. So that's nice. Although what isn't nice is our opponent having a broadside bombardiers in the first place. Swing, they don't get any additional explore or whatever it's called from Seasoned Engineer. But yeah, they get to take back all of this stuff. They get to forge or lost well. Oh, these are my triggers, aren't they? Because I currently own those permanents, or those emblems, or whatever they're called. Alright. If we'd have been able to scream last time, we could have saved ourselves 3 damage. Is that enough? That'll put us on 10. And then we still dead to bombardiers anyway. But we can now enable to screen the bombardiers, and maybe that helps us out. We need some lightning greaves. Stick them on our Merilage. We do not have no lightning greaves. So they got a 4/4 menace creature over there for next turn that can fling the Seasoned Engineer for 6. Oh, excuse me. A bit of a yawn there. Alright. I am feeling pretty bad about this game. A second unable to scream. Does that change anything here? So the problem is, if they hit us with trap, we're in a lot of trouble. So if we play out this Thespian stage, these lands make this. So we can shrink this. I guess like this can't block anyway because it has flying. So we go and attack them. We don't have a stifle here. Because stifle could stifle the trap trigger, which might provide us with a touch more life than we currently have. So we're going to get all the things from our opponent here. So we're going to get the Lost Well here and see if we can scry something useful to the top. Another unable to scream. Does that help us here? We get rid of these 3. 2, 4, 6. We only take 4. Yeah, that does work. Let's Lost Well, please. A ponder and an island. We don't have the luxury of drawing into those, do we? So put on the bottom. Put on the bottom. Oh no, we don't draw the card yet either, do we? So if we unable to scream this, that has to go. If we unable to scream this, because this is 1 mana, get another one of these or one of these. So we have to unable to scream that one, really. What can we find for 1 mana at instant speed that helps us out here? Slip out the back. We can slip out one of their creatures. So we can slip this out. We only take 6. Only 4, sorry. This being unblockable is a problem. Well, we have to worry about the trap, though. Oh, the trap. Dress down. What does that do for us? I don't think it does anything. If we dress down now, if it what could it find us that helps? We'll be looking at another 2 mana card. Like a borrower doesn't do it here. No, I think our opponent has us. We just can't quite get through what our opponent has. They have 1 too many threats for us. So we can't block that one. If we could block the Seasoned Engineer, we'd be okay. We could dress down. If we dress down now, this isn't unblockable. We don't have a creature to block it because we can't activate the depths yet. So we are dead on board right now. If we make it 20/20, it blocks here. We take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have to fish for something with this dress down. A borrower does potentially do it for us here. Slip out the back. This does keep us alive. But at what cost? So attack with this, this, and this. We have to slip out the back the Dungeoneer. Attacking with everything. Oh, this is a 2/4. Because it's got 2 counters on it. Oh no. I've missed my entire maths up here, haven't I? I forgot about the counters. Because we can slip this out the back. We take 2, 4, 6, 8 still. Yeah. No, we didn't quite have a line that got us there. Ran to the wire. Just couldn't quite get over the hump. If some of these last cards were the other way around, then we also have a Dreadnought in play this turn. That's just a lot better for us. We were so close. But just couldn't quite get there. I think if we put the dress down here, obviously we just get shot by the thing. So we have to put the dress down here to stop the ability. Oh, that was close. Unfortunately, we are a 1 and 3. So we're trying to get a little bit of dignity back with a 2-3 finish. Let's see if we can do that. How do I feel about this one? We've got a Brainstorm. I do like Brainstorm as a way of digging into stuff. Alright, we've got some tools here. We've got certainly some emergency buttons we can press if our opponent's doing something busted. I think I'll fetch around any sort of stifle because we're going to fetch this anyway. So we may as well do it now. A Boggart Bog. A Lotus Petal. Okay. Another Lotus Petal. An Undercity Informer. I'm going to float a mana here and attempt to daze this. They're going to pay here. I'm going to hit this with, I think it's the Brainstorm, because we can slip the back out of something later on. This does mean that we're shields down for a bit though. So maybe that was the wrong play. But if our opponent continued going there and we end up with a line where we can slip something out the back, maybe that matters. Like if we slip out the Narcomoeba at the right time so they can't get it back. That was the logic for doing the... Okay. Let's play a win condition. Let's get slippery with it. And continue. I'm very upset we haven't got to do the Dark Depths thing at all this league. It's in the deck. We've certainly had a couple of spots where we could have made it, but unfortunately we're still dead at that point. Springs tapped. So that is a thing that could bounce Dreadnought potentially. So this, not this world, might end up coming in handy at some stage. I am down to Brainstorm. I'm down to Brainstorm, and what am I going to keep here? What is more important to me? Counter Magic or Harness Borrower? So obviously Counter Magic important. Is it the Not of This World? We want the island if we want to cast the Borrower. So maybe the Brainstorm goes back. But then, do we want the Not of This World or do we want the Borrower? How much am I worried about Soporific Springs? I guess I'll keep the Borrower on top for now. Because we just need to get through one more turn cycle. If our opponent tries to buy a turn here, what is the Borrower realistically going to do to stop our opponent's ability to win? Not much that I can think of. A Felmire, untapped. Undercity Informer. Let's hope that the last card in their hand isn't a piece of fast mana. So you hit the Undercity Informer. Have one card in hand. Is it fast mana? It is! Oh no. The Borrower doesn't change anything there. We were so close. So let's have a look at our opponent's build. Jack-o'-lanterns, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, for a long time, like people were just kind of on the same settled build of Oops All Spells. Like some of the people in the Discord were very like regimented about what was the only playable Oops All Spells build. And some people were messing around with it. I think they found some much better builds now. But we are dead here. Oh, Dokily. What are we going to bring in? Well, we're going to bring in some Graveyard Hate. We're going to bring in some Null Rods to stop their artifact mana. We're going to bring in some Faerie Macabres. Hydroblast doesn't do anything here. Unable to Screen doesn't do anything here. Harbinger of the Seas sometimes can do something. It might be better than some of the cards that are coming out. We'll see. Dress Down, actively very good in this matchup. Carry the Unable to Scream. So the most important things are these four cards. Then we have two Null Rods that I would like to have access to. Are they better than Harbinger of the Seas? Are they better than Brazen Borrower? Brazen Borrower bouncing a Chrome Mox is really irritating, but the Null Rod shutting off all Chrome Moxes is even more irritating. So I think I like that. I like the Dreadnought as just a quick way to end the game, but is that even necessary at this point? We just need to not lose, right? We'll take out a couple of Dreadnoughts and bring in the Borrowers. And maybe we take out this and bring in the Harbinger. And you have one Dreadnought here. So the stuff out the backs of blue cards, they also work with the Harbinger to give us a Dark Depths. I think that's reasonable. Alright, we'll give this a whirl. Well, the Murktides are threats that we can use after we've spent all our resources. Two pieces of Graveyard Hate in our opening hand. I will keep this one. Faerie Macabre, not the best piece of Graveyard Hate. These new builds are actually pretty resilient to it, which is why the build is a lot better than the other ones. Go, Gadget, Grafdigger's Cage. Our opponent has the blue bounce spell, so they have answers to any permanent. But that is a long way off. A Lotus Petal, sure. A Dark Ritual, okay. Are we just going for the Undercity Informer beatdown here? The tried and tested beatdown plan. I'm going to... are we brainstorming now? I don't think we are. I think we're going to brainstorm on our opponent's turn. We can hide cards in our hand. It means we don't get to cast a Ponder as well or something, but we can hide cards in our hand, and if we need an emergency dress down, we can do that. It's been a long while since I've been beaten down to death by an Undercity Informer, but it has happened before. Hopefully today is not one of those days. So if we go to end step, we can brainstorm. Meticulous Archive. We can probably fetch that in a minute anyway. So put back this island and probably the brainstorm. Sorry, I meant to put back this island. Oh, that was pretty loose, wasn't it? Alright, let's go and get an island here. I'm going to brainstorm now. Okay, I don't really want to slip out the back very much. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. 5, 6, 7, but we need to keep up the dress down. So I think we put the slip out the back, and then the Meticulous Archive here. We draw the archive. Now we can always bounce it out of play whenever we need to. So we use this to bin off the top card of our library. Yeah, a couple of less than optimal plays just there. We should have put the Meticulous Archive back and fetched that. We can keep taking 2 from this if we want to, or we could bounce this and just be done with it. I'd rather bounce it in the end step though. Or we can just petty theft this, can't we? So now our opponent has to go to discard a Narcomoeba. This can put something on top of our library. We don't really want to do that. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just deploy a big threat. Okay, we've got a big threat. We've got a dress down in case of emergency. We've got a Faerie Macabre in case of emergency. They've conceded. I don't blame them. Doing anything differently? I don't think so. Let's just submit. We've got some turn 0 plays here. This does not work for us though, so we're going to mulligan. Okay, our opponent's kept 7. That's probably pretty terrible news for us. Right, we'll keep a Force of Will and the dress down here. Slip out the back and go. A Boggart Bog. Thought Seize. Do I want to Force of Will this? It's going to take the Force of Will anyway. I guess so. We let them have it. And then we have to try and ponder into some other permission. We got a fair few hits there. We got 6 cards plus Dazes, so potentially 10 hits. We can find with our Ponder. Ponder sees 4 cards. We're definitely going to roll with the Ponder instead. Alright, we found a piece of permission. Let's Ponder. Faerie Macabre, Daze. Yeah, these are all A-okay with me. Okay, so we want the Faerie Macabre in hand, I think. Which means the Daze goes on top. That is a sign of strength as well. So our opponent might not just jam into it. They might try and get a little bit more permission. Or, like, disruption even. A Lotus Petal, sure. Yeah. 4 mana for the Balustrade Spy. Let's say no to Balustrade Spy. They're going to pay with the Daze. So now we have to see if our Faerie Macabre can do this. So how many Spirit Guides are exiled? 2 Spirit Guides are exiled. Let's pop their graveyard out because this is obviously the key zone in the game right now. And we can hopefully work out what our opponent mills. What they have in hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they don't have any fast mana in hand right now. So Jack-O-Lantern is off. How many Dread Returns does this build have? 1 Dread Return here. No second Dread Return. But they could have one in hand. They don't have a Jack-O-Lantern. Sorry, they don't have the mana for the Jack-O-Lantern, so we don't have to worry about that just yet. So, what does our opponent have in hand? How many Pacts of Negation? 1, 2. It doesn't really matter when we got the... So I think we discard this now. And we're going to target... There's 1 Thassa's Oracle in this list. So we take out the Thassa's Oracle. That stops them from being able to win that way. Make sure they're seeing all of the Thassa's Oracles. Okay. So we can take out the 1 Memory's Journey, and then they can't put anything back into their library. So they will die. If they have a second Thassa's Oracle, a second Thassa's Oracle in hand, they're more likely to have a second Dread Return in hand, though. So we take the Memory's Journey. There's only 1 Memory's Journey here. Right, we've made our choice. It's either good enough or it isn't. They can't win. They can't put more cards into their library. So they will die in their next upkeep, or their next draw step, unless I've missed something. But we did pull everything out and have a good look at it. All right, they've conceded. We hit the right things. We got there. So we did manage to get the 2 wins. So we got some pity play points back. Not bad because we were playing a deck that has some issues that don't necessarily work with it. So let's have a look at the list. I think it's also important to think about the last time I played this last year and it went a lot better. Things have changed. We are now running Harbinger of the Seas, so we've got that whole thing going on. Before we weren't doing any of that. We were just more into our cantrips and dreadnoughting stuff. We had Stifles as well, which are some more interaction, early doors. And this format is a lot about early interaction right now. Also, last time we played this, we didn't have the fetch land mana base. Actually, no, I think we had fetch lands, but for Mystic Sanctuary, because Meticulous Archive hadn't been printed yet. We also had 3 copies of Thespian Stage. And with this build, with less copies of Thespian Stage, we didn't make a 2020. No, that's not true. We did make 1 and it got ploughed at one point, I believe. Or something like along those lines. But yeah, so we didn't really get to do the Dark Depths thing. So I think that's interesting. We just certainly didn't get to do the Harbinger of the Seas plan like I wanted to. We play this and slip out of the back. Actually, no, we did play this and then have the 2020 when this died. The problem was our opponent was a control deck and they had nothing but removal and they just got us. And the Teferi gave us some issues. So obviously playing a mono blue deck has some issues because you don't get to really remove creatures. Trying to ignore that by just having bigger creatures and going over the top, or having counter spells to stop some of the scary things. But it is a bit of a tough one with this. I think we also played against a couple of more fringe decks in the format. Like we did fine into like the blue-black reanimator deck, but the sort of the fringe 5-color Yorion Beanstalk deck with just all the removal is always going to be something that we're going to struggle against, because we're an A+B deck as well as a tempo deck, and they're just trying to control what we're doing, and it's a lot easier for them to pick apart if we need A's and B's. And then the Death and Taxes deck, which is designed to sort of pick apart tempo decks as well. So yeah, I think we were a little bit unfortunate with the matchups more than anything. I think the deck is relatively fine for what it is. Now, Mono Blue Dreadnought is a fine deck. I quite like Mono Blue Dreadnought. I think it is obviously better than playing a build with Dark Depths in. But we are in December, so we are going to be jamming it into mono-coloured shells of all varieties. I think improvements I would make next time, I might cut a fetch for another Thespian stage, just so we got more of that going on. But otherwise, like, I felt like everything we were doing was fine. Maybe like the Harbinger plan is a little bit cute, but Harbinger is just a really good card at the moment where you've got Eldrazi and Cloudpost as decks to think about, and it sometimes is going to get you some free wins. And I think in Legacy right now you need decks that have some free win buttons. Maybe we could trim to 2 Harbinger of the Seas, and that gives us another bit more interaction, so we can have another Enable to Scream, we could have another Cantrip, we could have a main deck Dismember, another Borrower, something like that. We could certainly tinker around the edges. But I felt like I had the tools I wanted to. Unable to Scream looked okay to me. It wasn't the reason we lost games because this card was bad. It was just the fact that our opponent just had a couple too many creatures in that situation when we wanted it. But this would be fine in some other sort of creature matchups. I think we could have played against the Death and Taxes deck differently. I think we maybe punted game 1 by not dress downing in response to their Ether Vial trigger. The activation, sorry. But I was holding it up, like I said, for the Flicker Wisp and stuff like that, and the Skyclave Apparition to just straight up kill our Dreadnought. But we just ended up getting clowned by the Cauldron. So maybe we need a third Borrower to deal with situations like that as well. So that's something we could think about for cutting one of the Harbingers for another Borrower. But yeah, the deck was fun. I had more fun with it last year. If you want to go back to my playlist and watch those, by all means do. There's some really good stuff on there. But this didn't quite come together as much as I wanted it to today. But we did put a Marit Lage into play using Harbinger of the Seas. So I will take that as a moral victory today. Alright, that is the end of this one. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help the channel out and doesn't cost you a thing. Join me tomorrow for some more wonderful Legacy action. I'll see if I can find any Depths decks that have won some tournaments recently and try and showcase that for the midweek meta slot so we can kind of do 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, thank you so much for watching and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbo Depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbo Depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.